Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday, y'all. And welcome to this episode of Bankroll Your Brains Thursdays. I'm Nicole Roberts Jones, the Bankroll Your Brains expert. Always excited, humbled, and blessed to share with you week after week from one of three areas. Number one, what is your brilliance? Your purpose, the one thing God has created you to do in this world. The second is the value tied to it. And the third is how do you create multiple streams of income from it? I really want you to know that you need all three working successfully in order to have a multiple six figure, seven figure, eight figure business. All right. So as you're coming in, tell me hello. As I say, those of you that are here with me week after week, you know, my grandmother used to always say, don't come in this house and not speak. So you're in my virtual room today. So at least tell me hello. If as during this segment, anything resonates with you, I want you to give some heart emojis. If stepping on your toes a little bit, I want you to give some fire in the chat. And if you have questions, post them as we go live. So our guest for this week, Ramunda, has not shown up yet. So, you know, you got to love that. Emergencies happen. So while I'm waiting for her to show up, what I thought I'd pour into you, listen, we're in the last weeks of 2022. That means we are pretty much 6 weeks away from 2023. So as you set your goals for 2023, I want to challenge you a little bit. I want to challenge you to set big, bold goals that scare you. So, in 2 weeks on December 1st, I'm going to walk you through the steps you need to be successful in 2023. But before we do that, what I want to challenge you to do as part of your homework is to think about what do you really, really want in 2023. And as you think about that and ponder that question, I want you to also think about this. As goals come up for you and you say things like, oh, I can never do that, or I don't know how, or anything in between that then would make you second guess the goals that I believe God drops in your spirit when they're that big. Listen, Ephesians 3:20 says, to him that will do exceedingly abundantly above all we could ever ask or think. So if God's going to do exceedingly abundantly above all we could ever think, we could ever fathom or imagine, it's bigger than anything we've ever done or seen. And when God is calling you to bigger and better, it's going to be abundantly above all, unless you're playing really small. You know, those that are here with me week after week, I shared this episodes ago that I was on a mastermind call and Ayana Van Zant was a guest on that call. And she said, and I quote, if your dreams don't make you want to pee on yourself sometimes, you ain't playing big enough. Hello. So my goal for you is to give you goals as we're waiting for our guest for this week to arrive. So just, you know, next week is Thanksgiving. So we'll do a replay for Thanksgiving. And then the week after that is actually my last show ever. Can you believe that? So I'll share with you in that episode what I'm up to next. And I'll give you some great insight to walk away from our time we've spent together here on Black Doctor and our Bankroll Your Brains Thursday segments. So with that said, here's what I thought I'd share with you as we wait for our guest. And I'll keep talking. If she doesn't come, trust me, I have enough content to give you for 30 minutes. Faith is fear in reverse. Faith is fear in reverse. So funny enough, I have my Weeble Wobble here because I use this all the time. So when you are often faced something, you guys remember Weeble Wobbles? Remember Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. My hand is probably not the best example. Let me pick up my Bible right here. So listen, when a weeble wobbles on a surface, you see how it just weeble wobbles, but it never falls? Many of you, God puts a dream, a desire in your heart, and you're like a weeble wobble. You go from faith to fear, but you don't stand sturdy and strong, steadfast and unmovable in the gifts that are in you. So I thought I'd give you at least the three steps, see how far I can get, to go after that thing that scares you, to go after your big, bold goal. Because listen, if you're going after easy, then you're limiting God's ability to bless you or to use you for that matter. Listen, I serve a big God. So God is going to put big dreams in you if you serve a big God too. Listen, God can't pull a big blessing through a small window. So if you're playing small and limiting God, he's not going to give you that abundantly above all dream. He's not. Okay. So here are the three things you got to do. You got to know that your comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. Now, what I mean by that is you may have very well had the career you always wanted. Listen, that was my story. And those of you that haven't heard my story, let me tell it to you quickly. So this year marks 29 years and 2023 to be 30 years that I've been doing this. Is like, Jesus, how old am I? Right. So I started this work back in 1993 when I had the job I've dreamed of ever since I was 7 years old. I worked in the entertainment industry. So back then, I worked for Viacom's largest cable network. We had an outreach to over 89 million homes on a weekly basis. From there, I worked on the number one TV show on Fox in casting. And then from there, I was elevated into a position where I was on a producing crew. I worked with a production company, and what we produced generated over $12.6 billion a year. Now, I'm sharing that with you because I had gotten to the place I dreamed of. I loved every minute of it, but I felt like something was missing. And I couldn't understand how I could feel like that when this was everything I dreamed of. So here's what I know. There comes a time that you might have everything that you wrote on that checklist, in your 20s, and you might be very well on that career trajectory you wrote out. But there comes a time when your career just is no longer big enough for your gift. See, what I know now is the reason God was stirring up my gift. By the way, there's a Bible verse about that. Stir it up, stir it up. Those of you that are in church, you've heard the song, Stir Up the Gift. Anyway, I believe God stirs up our gifts to tell us, hey, there's more for you. And that more is always outside your comfort zone. So here's what I mean by that. So as I was feeling those feelings in my own journey, I started talking to my girlfriends about what I was feeling. And they were saying stuff like, are you crazy? You realize the show you worked on and the red carpet events you go to and the VIP list we all get on. And so actually, I started to feel like I was crazy because I told you I love my job. So I really want you to understand this. I didn't know what to do. What job could I possibly go after? And how could I feel like this? So in the middle of me feeling dazed and confused, one of my good girlfriends invited me to volunteer working with youth at our church one night. And it was in that night or in that church that night that I started working with young women. Their eyes lit up. And when their eyes lit up, my heart lit up. And I said, oh my God, this is it. But this is again, 1993. I had never heard of this thing I do now called coaching. So I had a decision to make. Do I stay in this comfortable place where perception and everybody's public opinion, everybody's judgment of me, and actually my judgment of myself, do I stay there or do I go after this rumble in my soul? So your comfort and your conviction can never coexist. I had to go after this conviction, this thing that was rumbling inside of me. And again, in 1993, I didn't know what to call it. There was no such thing as a coach, at least I hadn't heard of that term. But yet for the first time in my life, my soul was alive. And so I started to do this thing. And so my question to you is, what is that thing that's outside your comfort zone? I have another client that's a lawyer, and she got to a place in her law profession where she got offered to be a partner. But she knew she didn't want to be a lawyer. She went to law school because all of her family told her she should be a lawyer. What she wanted to do was be a journalist. And so she said her decision was to go up the corporate ladder or to go out. She chose to follow her spirit and she went out. And now she is a CNN correspondent. She's worked in the White House as a journalist. My question to you is, what would happen when you chose to do the thing that was uncomfortable, not the easy? You chose to go after your heart. Listen, I believe God puts those desires in our heart. And so my question is, what would happen if you did it afraid, if you moved outside of where you are? The second step is you got to know that your next level is always going to be bigger. It's always going to be way bigger. So for me, when I left entertainment and I started working with teenage girls at my church, that wasn't it for me. What I've learned in this journey now is that your purpose matriculates. One of my pastors says, Pastor Isaac Petrie, you grow on levels and we live life in stages. So that was one level of my purpose matriculation. But here's what the other thing I know is the difference between our education matriculation system. I can't even say it. And our purpose matriculation system. See, education, we know kind of the system that goes through. So we know we start in elementary school and then junior high and high school. And then some of us going to college and grad school and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, your purpose matriculates, can't say that word today, in the same way. But the difference is God doesn't give you the journey. He's like a GPS. He only tells you your next turn when you're in the middle of the previous one. So for me, my next level, every single time God has called me to my next, remember I said you live life on levels and grow through straight stages. I've had to do it afraid. So my first was to leave entertainment to do this thing called coaching for teenage girls. I did that. Soon I had 10 chapters of my youth program in 10 cities throughout the country, and we were growing by leaps and bounds. I would have never seen that when I said yes to my purpose. Then as that was going well, my first set of girls started graduating from high school and graduating from college even and working in their careers. And they were calling me saying things like, I have the career I always wanted, but something feels like it's missing. Or I'm not making the money I thought I was going to make. And so what happened is they started calling me, and it was one of them that sent me an article and called me her coach. And I realized, oh, this thing is called coaching. So I went to coaching school and I started a coaching practice. What I didn't realize then is that God used teenage girls to matriculate me to my next level, which was to skill highly professional women. Over time, God began to say to me last year that I need to be more inclusive to men. I've worked with corporations, none of the matriculation. I'm sharing that with you because I see how God keeps pulling me into new levels. Each new level I've had to do it afraid. I'd never worked in corporate. Remember, I came from entertainment. The first corporation I worked with, I was like, I don't know if this is actually going to work. But I trusted the gift in me. So, what would happen if you did it afraid and you realize that what's happening is God is taking you to a whole new level? Come on, Rod. This might be where you are, right? So, by the way, you guys, I have a gift I'm going to give you at the end of this that'll bless you if this is really what you need, right? Here's a third thing I learned. You've got to be willing to risk it all to gain it all. What do I mean by that? So, when I left entertainment to do this thing, I didn't know what the heck this thing was called. I risked my entire career in the entertainment to do this thing, and everybody thought I was crazy. And again, I thought I was crazy too. And all I could do was trust God. I didn't know then that I'd be here. I didn't know I have the privilege to work with people and actually have some full circle moments. All right. Rose said, "Oh my God, new level." Sorry, I forgot you guys can't see when I say all right, right? And Rod said, "This is rich. I could cry, right?" And tell me why you could cry. And listen, if you guys have questions, please ask me. I'm happy to coach you and teach you while you're here live, right? So listen, I had no idea that about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, God, time flies, y'all, that I'd have a full circle moment when I got to work with Steve Harvey. When Steve Harvey was working on his Act Like a Success curriculum, I got called to be on that team because I worked in entertainment. Matter of fact, I worked on Def Comedy Jam, if I keep it all the way real. So there are things I knew about comedians. I worked with a company that managed comedians. That the only comedian I never worked with, I've had the pleasure to work with Bill Bellamy, Cedric the Entertainer, and go on and on. The only comedian I never ever met was Steve Harvey, funny enough. But when I started working with him and helping him really understand the difference between finding the funny and finding the breakthrough, I could use that and say, Mr. Harvey, listen, I worked in comedy. Ask. And I started naming people's names that we work with, Def Comedy Jam. He looked at me. I said, so understand, I know what you're dealing with. You know how to find the funny. Trust God, find the breakthrough with the same gift, because that's what God is calling you to do. And I said that boldly, and not saying that to brag, but what I am saying to you is that full circle moment only happened because I was willing to take the gift God put in me, take that rumble God was having inside of me, and trust his timing and follow his lead. There's something did you keep your day job while you built the coaching? Yes, I did. This is such a great question, Rose. Listen, she asked, did you keep your day job while you built your coaching level? Yes. So listen, I did, because as you build your business, so let's say your income is here. Okay. Listen, I was making some good money in entertainment, y'all. I was buying all the shoes I wanted. I was in my 20s. Keep that in mind. Buying all the shoes I wanted, doing everything I wanted. When I started my business, I wasn't making no money. So you have to keep your daytime job, because what happens is when you first start making money in your business, well, listen, you don't want to quit your job until not only is the revenue you're bringing in superseding your income, but understand part of the money you make, you have to pour back into your business. So, yes, I call it, listen, what I teach my clients is how to build your business alongside your 9 to 5, because you're not being a good steward of your gift if you're going to do it being exhausted, if you do it in struggle. Listen, God had to teach me struggle and service should never coexist. He gave you a gift for you to live abundantly. So you've got to do it strategically and do it the right way. So yes, listen, God tells us to have faith, yes, but he didn't tell you to have stupid faith. Ooh, did I say stupid and faith in the same sentence? I did. You don't have wise faith. So then when you quit your job, the faith is that you're going to continue to make the revenue that you've projected. That's where faith comes to play. Okay. Good question, Rose. So listen, y'all, you're so welcome. So listen, risk it all to gain it all. So let me explain to you what I mean by that. And Rose, this is going to be even more of an answer to your question. So 1993, I started this. From 1993 to 2010, 17 years in. By then, I had 10 chapters in 10 cities throughout the countries of my nonprofit when we were growing. I had a maxed out coaching client roster in my for profit, in my coaching business, meaning I couldn't take another client. So in 2010, my first book came out. When my first book came out, I started getting invitations to speak all over the country. Listen, I loved every minute of it, y'all. It was everything I dreamed of when I started my business, except this one part. I was only making $13,000 a year in my business. hmm Yeah, 13,000, which you guys know is below the poverty level. And there's no way I could have ever quit my daytime job to do my business full time with $13,000. I couldn't do barely anything with that. And I remember this moment like it was yesterday. It was November 7th, 2010. I had gotten home from another speaking weekend. And oh, by the way, back then my daytime job was I was an adjunct professor. At the time, I was an adjunct professor at Boston College. Excuse me, Boston University. My class was at 8 a.m. the next morning. I hadn't looked at my syllabus. I hadn't written a lecture note. I don't even think I had read the chapters in the books I told my students to read. And I remember sitting on my couch, tired, frustrated, ready to quit. And so I said, Lord, if this is really you, I need you to show me something because I felt in conflict. How could I want to quit my purpose? But this little $13,000 is not cutting it. And so to make a long story short, I heard about a free webinar. I joined that free webinar, and all paths in that webinar led me to my coach. My coach cost $30,000. Risk it all to gain it all, y'all. I didn't have 30,000. I didn't have enough in my savings. I don't even think I had 5,000 in my savings. But I realized that I had never invested at the level to which I wanted to see the return. You know, we invested in college, we invest in Louis Vuitton purpose and purses and cars and Louboutin shoes. But why do we not invest in our purpose, our brilliance, the one thing God has created us to do in this world? I hadn't invested in it up until that time. Well, let me be clear. I paid $100 here or $200 there, but I haven't really invested at the level I wanted to see the return come back to me. When I hired that coach, not only did she show me, what I realized is we all have blind spots. There's parts of our brains that we would never see because we don't do what we do to ourselves. So there's things that are intrinsic to your DNA, your distinct natural ability, that you would never, ever be able to define or quantify. See, working with my coach, she began to show me. So to make an even longer story short, I went from 13,000 to over 200,000 within 6 months. So those of you that know you have this issue, you're ready to start your business, I have a free gift for you. I'm doing a free 3-day masterclass called Purpose to Profit. It starts on December 6th, 4th, Sunday, December 4th at 7 p.m. EST through Tuesday, December 6th at 7 p.m. EST. So all you've got to do is go to purposeprofitmasterclass.com to register. I'm also gifting you with a manual. And why am I doing that? Because those of you that know me know that I could care less if you're motivated or inspired from what I share with you. I need you to be able to implement, okay? So all I'm going to walk you through is the 3 areas that you must be clear on to start your business or grow it. Now, let me also be clear. This is for those of you that have a service-based business. What do I mean by that? You know, those of you, if you're a coach, you sell, you teach people sales, you are a trainer, you're an image consultant, you're a lawyer, you're an accountant, some way that you use your intellectual property to move somebody's life or business or career forward. However, if you have a product-based business, so if I give you an example, I have a client that has a lipstick applicator line, you know, lipstick applicator. Hello, right? And she said, oh, you can't help me. Yes, I can. So literally, I said to her, how many people call you to pick your brain? And she said, ooh, a lot. About what? She said, manufacturing. Do you know we made 3 programs where she teaches people how to manufacture? See, the other thing I'm going to teach you is how you make money in your sleep, those of you that want to start alongside your 9 to 5. So you got to understand you have so much brilliance inside of you. God created an avenue for us all to live abundantly above all. The question is, will you do the work to go and get it, right? So that again is my 3-day masterclass, purposeprofitmasterclass.com. And all you've got to do is register for your free seat. And those of you that might say, well, I can't come on Tuesday or I can't come on a certain day, the replay will be available for you until Friday, December 9th, okay? But you got to register, purposeprofitmasterclass.com. So let me end our conversation with this. Okay, so number 1, this is about you. Faith is fear in reverse. So you can either face everything and run. This is spelling out fear. Face everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. See, there's a Bible verse, First Timothy. Oh shoot, I can't think of it right now. Mind you, you guys, listen. I'm doing this off the dome because our guest didn't come today, and emergencies happen. I'm sure something happened to her, so I'm praying that everything is okay. But there's a Bible verse, First Timothy. Shoot, I can't think of it. If one of y'all think of it, write it in the comments. That says God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power and love and a sound mind. He hasn't given it to us, but it doesn't mean we're not going to be afraid. So you're not going to be fearless. What you've got to do is, in the face of fear, understand that it's time for you to find your faith. See, faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's Hebrews 11:1. So if it's evidence of things not seen, or you can find the evidence to have faith. Whether things that God has done for you in the past, whether you've heard stories of other people that have done what you want to do, or if the story that I've shared thus far today can bless you. God shows us what's possible. The question is, do you trust him? The question is, do you lean on God when you can't see what's possible? Will you do the work to grow your gift? Because listen, God gave you the gift. He's done. He's not going to grow it for you. The number of people that tell me they're praying about it. I remember I was on a live webinar or live like this on Facebook, and a woman I invited to something, maybe to coach with me or what have you, and she said, I'm going to pray about it. And it bothered me. Now, if y'all don't know that I'm a God's girl by now, I prayed about the fact that bothered me, because I'm like, how can somebody saying they praying about something bother me? So here's what God said back to me. He said, the reason it's bothering you is because she's waiting on me and I am waiting on her. Right? Thank you, Rose. So God is not giving you the spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind is Second Timothy 1:7. Okay. I think it's 5 and 6 or something. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something. Maybe I'm thinking of another Bible verse. But anyway, so with that said, y'all, I need you to understand that my goal in everything I teach, first of all, I'm clear, my business is my ministry. Ministry, if you look up the definition in Webster's dictionary, the first two definitions say something about religion. The third one says to serve a group of people. We're all called to serve. We all are. It's my great mission, my great calling in this world to get you in alignment with your assignment, to give you the action steps you need to not just set up a business, but I need you to understand profit means gain. So when you profit, you're gaining for you, but you're also gaining for the kingdom here on earth. So beyond excited to share with you. So with that said, let me summarize what I've shared with you in the last 20 some odd minutes or so. Faith is fear in reverse. So I forgot to say this part. So fear spells out face everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. It's about rising above who you already are. Your resume, your bio, all of that is complete. So I'm not here for that. I'm here for who you have not yet become. I'm here for the next version of you that God is looking to come forward. I'm looking for you to grow to your next level. And as I'm challenging you, I'm challenging my own self always, right? So if you're going to do it afraid, if you're going to have faith, number one, you've got to know your comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. You're going to have to be uncomfortable. One of the things that made my business fail year after year after year is I kept thinking I should know how to do this, but I didn't. And so my ego was in the way. Because I was teaching, listen, I didn't teach at one prestigious university. I taught at two. I never even applied for either position. I graduated from USC, my master's degree, and one of my professors asked me to come teach or come share with her class a business I already had. I shared in that class, and my professor said, you should teach. And I thought, at the time, I don't have a PhD. Well, before I even could get home, the dean of the school called and made an offer. So, of course, I taught. I was scared to do that, too, by the way. Then when I moved from LA to Boston, the dean in USC called me and said, Nicole, how come I don't see you on a teaching roster? She was kind of mad about it. I said, oh, Dean Jackie, I moved to Boston. Do you know she called the Boston University and said, hey, you need to hire her? And then I got another call. I'm like, well, so I was kind of full of myself, y'all. Let me keep it all the way real. And see, when you don't realize that there is so much more for you to learn and you don't get the help you need, you will be stuck right where you are. And that was me for 17 years. I kept thinking, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to work extra hours. I'm going to work on Saturday. I'm going to work some on Sunday. And isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result? That was me. It wasn't until I hired that coach that I couldn't afford, but I couldn't afford not to do it. So every month that payment was a faith walk. And when I generated over 200,000 within 6 months, see, I didn't see that at the beginning. I just trusted God because all my path led me to her. And I wouldn't be the same had I not done it. So now you get to do the same thing. You get to make a choice. If you want to have your big, bold goals for 2023, you've got to be willing to invest. Now, listen, I know that I'm not everybody's coach. So, whoever that is, if I've been resonating with you, then that means that I am assigned to you. But if it's not me and it's somebody else you've been watching, let me invite you into your next level. Listen, when I want to really work out the way I should be, especially after the way I was eating in COVID, can I tell you I gained 20 pounds in COVID? The only way that I'm back at my fighting weight is what I always say, is because I got a trainer. I got a trainer that would stay on me, that would push me, that would challenge me, that shifted the way I did things, the way I eat. And some of you need that with your purpose. That's what a coach does, a good one. So those of you that know, like, let me share with you one more time my free webinar that's coming up a couple weeks. And your manual, by the way, the first part of your manual gives you work to do ahead of time because that's how I do it. Purpose of Profit free 3-day. We're going to get you clear on your purpose, the one thing God created you to do, and how to create multiple streams of revenue from it. There are methodologies you need in your business. I'm going to walk you through it all. PurposeProfitMasterclass.com. All you got to do is register and you just show up. You come empty. I'm coming full to pour everything into you. All right? So with that, I want to thank you all for joining me. This is me off the dome because our guest didn't get to arrive today, didn't get to come today. 2 more episodes, and then listen, my series here will be over here in Black Doctor. But don't worry, I have more coming for you week after week in another platform. But I'm getting busy and it's hard for me to be live every Thursday. And so 2 more episodes. My last will be December 1st. So I want to encourage you and invite you to join me both on December 1st as well as for my 3-day masterclass. All right. So real quick, faith is fear in reverse. Number 1, I want you to set a big bold goal, a goal that scares you. Okay. So as you do that, in order for you to go after that goal, you've got to know your comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. Your comfort and your conviction cannot coexist. So you want either going to be comfortable or you're going to go after the conviction that's in your soul. You'll be obedient to what God is stirring up in you. Number 2, your next level is always going to be bigger than where you are, which will require another level of you, another level of your brilliance, another level of strategy, another way to look at how you do what you do in this world. And then number 3, you're going to have to risk it all to gain it all. Again, faith is the substance of things hoped for. The substance of things hoped for. Substance of things hoped for means you can't see it. The evidence of things not seen. See, a risk means you can't see how, but you know it's possible because you see other people do it. I want to challenge you and encourage you that this is your time to get ready for 2023 now. You can't wait till 2023 starts. See, you're on your runway to 2023 right now. So, again, thank you for joining me for this episode. We just had to do a little pivot shift. As I talked to you about faith is fear in reverse, my greatest goal for every one of you that listens, whether you're here live or you watch the replay, is that you really do go after all that God has for you. Listen, God has a special role for you to play in this world. And when you do the thing that you were purposed and created to do, you're the answer to a group of people that are waiting for you, that are praying for you. And so it's time. It's time. Every excuse you could give about why you can't now, I want you to know it's not about you. It's about all the people that are looking for you. So get past your ego like I had to and any other excuse that may keep you from being the answer you were born to be in this world. And make sure you register for a seat. I'm going to share with you one last time. PurposeProfitMasterclass.com. All right. So with that, we'll have a replay for Thanksgiving next week. And then the week after, I'll be here for my last ever Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursday segment here in Black Doctor. It's always my honor and privilege to pour into you. Do me a favor. Share one thing you got valuable out of today's conversation. And then here's my second favor to ask you. If you got any value out of today, then can you share on the link below? Will you share? Because you never know who else in your community is looking for this insight, who's been praying for this insight. All right. So with that, I'll see y'all next week. We'll replay next week. I'll see you in 2 weeks for my final live segment. Bye, y'all.